We on the cusp, we going up, we elevate, yesterday. We on the cusp, we on the cusp, we on the cusp, we on the cusp. Look at us now, we run a town. Hey, what's going on, good people? You know who it is and what it be. This is Rob P, and we are on the cusp of progression, on the cusp of innovation, on the cusp of progress and elevation. And today I got one of Toledo's greatest innovators of this new generation, empowering the next generation, a father of 4, husband of 16 years. This man is on the cusp of technology and innovation here in Toledo, has started a couple different companies, been in the tech field, leads a tech community in Toledo, none other than Toledo's own LeSean Shaw. How you feeling, man? Welcome to On The Cusp, man.
Thank you very much.
You've worked hard, man. You've worked very hard. And I think it's only fitting that somebody like you who is innovating in the city, somebody like you who is opening doors for other people, man, just to get into your mind, to learn about your journey, to learn what motivates you, to learn what opportunities you see that we may not see. So what's really good?
Hey, man, well, first and foremost, thank you for being here. This is an amazing opportunity. We've been trying to do this for a little while now. So I'm just happy to be here to even be able to have this opportunity. So, like you said, been married 16 years, been a native of Toledo, Ohio all my life. I got 4 kids.
Wow.
And I started a couple companies last year, actually 2 years ago now, man. Time's been moving really, really fast, So in partnership with my guy, Tom Bush, we actually ended up starting a for-profit company and a nonprofit company at the same time. So we did those the exact same day. So the for-profit company is called Actual Reality Technologies. We're doing a lot of work with some of the advanced manufacturers here locally and throughout the state, dealing with data analytics, machine learning, Industry 5.0, custom software and app development on that side for the for-profit. And then on the nonprofit side, we have Empowered AI, which is a nonprofit tech educator where we're able to go out into community, create collaborative journeys or ventures, with other organizations where we can actually create different programs, such as Young Empower Authors, which we'll kick off and get into in a hot second as well.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
talk about that. Yeah. So, I mean, we met a minute ago. We used to go to the same church, the church on Strayer. So we met there.
Yeah.
But within the last maybe year and a half, I started running into you here at Toll House.
Yeah.
Because I have my realtors meetings on every 3rd Tuesday, and then you have your tech meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So tell the people about that.
Yeah, so we do Tech Night at Toll House, which has been an event that we've done probably about 20 times. So, shout out to Will Lucas and Angela Lucas for allowing us the ability to be here at Toll House. We're doing that every 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month, inviting the local community to come and hear about tech. Even if you're tech curious or, artificial intelligence is something that just really concerns you, this is the spot for you to be able to come out. Can come out and meet different entrepreneurs that are in the community as well, too. We recently just partnered with the University of Toledo Business Incubator, so that's bringing in that entrepreneurial space into the, into the Tech Night as well, too.
Yeah.
So, it's an awesome opportunity, and we're doing that every 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month from 6 to 9 p.m.
Just pull up.
Yeah, pull up, man. It's free of charge. It's Taco Tuesday that night.
Taco Tuesday.
So you can get your Tuesday, tacos and everything, and they got some drink specials as well, too. And also, we offer entrepreneurs or different companies the opportunity to come in and speak about, whether they have a product, an event going on, or just about their organization in general, because we want to reciprocate value for the community.
Heard that. So technology, man, what is it about technology that it became a part of your passion and purpose?
Yeah, so I always feel as if I've been tech adjacent. I've never really had like a technical background or anything like that. I didn't go to school for it. But very much like yourself, very much into technology, a techie myself, always wanted to have the latest phones at first, and everything like that. And then, just started to get a little bit more into tech, because with tech, you can kind of advance any and everything that you're thinking about, whether that's your own personal situation, your situation at work, or you're thinking about your community. You can use technology in different ways and facets in order to bring progression to all of those different things.
Absolutely. I mean, I look at it like I'm a techie.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm a techie. And I mean, I've used technology to advance my brand, advance my mission, to create a platform for myself. And so I'm a firm believer in technology and the fact that I think this is one of the best times to be alive because of the technology that we have access to.
Oh yeah,
You
definitely.
know, I feel like, in a sense, back when you think about like the European explorers, they
Hmm.
thought the world was flat,
Right, right.
right? And I mean, they went and explored the world, and just to see what has grown, to see
Hmm.
the connections. I feel like the world is back flat again.
Hmm.
I think it's more simplified because we can touch so many people,
Oh yeah.
have such a great impact with the technology that we have.
Yeah, I mean, the connections are just so many and plentiful, at this point because it's so easy to make a connection.
Yeah.
If you wanted to get on, whether it's like a TikTok or if you wanted to get on YouTube, if you wanted to start making your own applications and start putting your own self out there, those are just different ways that you can utilize technology. And it's interesting because a lot of times people don't have an understanding that they're a part of the tech community, and if you're a streamer or if you're a podcaster or if you're using software to progress your brand, or even if you're using things like Canva, those are different technologies as well too that are different softwares that are out there to
Yeah,
help you advance you as an entrepreneur. So
absolutely.
yeah.
So where do you think, as far as, I mean, like you said, you kind of you came up in technology. You always been a part of technology, technology adjacent.
Hmm.
Where do you feel? How do you feel about where we are with technology today, with the breakthroughs of AI and everything else that's going to come from that?
Yeah, we honestly on the tip of the iceberg. The artificial intelligence that we're using today is honestly going to be the worst artificial intelligence you'll ever use. And that's an interesting component to really think about because we think about how advanced it is right now, but every day, is leap and bounds forward. It's getting
Absolutely,
better and better
yeah,
every single day with training different models. You see, DeepSeek has come out. They're calling
yeah,
that like the Chat GPT killer. So it's interesting. Tech just moves so fast. You just really have to find your place within tech. I wasn't always in tech. I started off in healthcare. And
wow,
before that, I was in customer service. So I kind of shifted around. In order to find my position within tech. Once I became a part of the Bitwise situation. A couple years back and everything like that. But before that, like I said, I was just kind of around tech adjacent, just looking at the real cool trends that was coming out and everything like that, but always thinking about, if we had different tech things here locally in Toledo, like what could Toledo accomplish at that point?
yeah. And I think your organization is doing its part to create some type of Silicon Valley network here
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
Northwest Ohio.
Definitely, so we're pushing, pretty much any and every organization that we can, whether that be nonprofits or for profits, local universities, working with University of Toledo, BGSU. I have a couple kids that actually are the Junior Achievement fifth year program. I actually have three of them that are working out at Actual Reality Technologies right now as well too. So really it's just about getting everybody on fire at the exact same time about artificial intelligence, because we can't say that we're a tech community if everybody's not on fire about it. It just can't be me and my
Yeah,
organization and the people there. It has to be everybody on fire.
that's real.
Yeah,
I feel like, Northwest Ohio just has so much opportunity,
definitely.
and I this year I actually moved back 10 years ago, April
Hmm.
2024.
Okay.
I moved back April 2014 once I
Hmm.
got my real estate license because I saw the opportunity here. I mean, there's a lot of things that you go to other cities, major cities the same size of Toledo,
Right.
that Toledo doesn't have. And I feel like if you can provide those opportunities here,
Hmm.
um, you can live like royalty,
No,
truly.
yeah, you absolutely can, and it's a budding community. There's a lot of different forward thinking individuals here, and it's honestly our generation's time to really take focus on what the city should be, what it can be, what we can potentially accomplish, because now it's our kids that are coming behind us that are looking for
Absolutely.
those opportunities at this
Yeah.
point. And, we don't want everybody to come to Toledo and say, hey, it might be a nice place just to retire at. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you and I aren't looking forward to retiring
Yeah. Well,
anytime
they
soon,
do say this is a great place to retire.
I'm sure it is,
Yeah.
but it should also be a great place to grow, and
Yeah.
a great place to innovate as well, too. And
100%.
those are some of the things that we're pushing forward, with even the idea on the nonprofit side for Empowered AI. One of the big ideas that we have is to turn Toledo into the AI capital of the Midwest,
Mm,
and to increase Toledo's tech talent tenfold, and the only way we can do that is to retain, and retain, and train the best tech talent, locally here in this community.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds like what you're doing is you're starting with the younger generation.
Yeah, so we started off with a couple of different programs, and the one that really started catching fire over last summer was called Young Empower Authors. So with Young Empower Authors, we actually had an opportunity to introduce kids that were between the ages of 7 and 12 to artificial intelligence, but for the specific purpose of them publishing their own books.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to do that in 4 half-day settings, so 4 hours a day we were with the kids. We walked them through, trademark, copyright infringement. These are the components of what it is to make a good children's book. And each one of the 40 kids ended up coming up with their own storylines. And then we helped them with artificial intelligence to create illustrations for those stories as well, too.
Wow.
So it was really interesting hearing all the different stories that everybody had.
Yeah.
And then walking them through the process of getting them published, So
That's amazing.
yeah, so
That's
it's really
powerful.
big for us to be able to do that in the community right now.
Well, and what that does is for the children, it gives them confidence to have that experience to say, "Yeah, I'm a published author. I did it."
Absolutely.
And it's like, if I can publish a book at that age, I can do anything.
Yeah, and you can do it multiple times, So from this point on, the rest of their lives, I don't know many published authors, but I know 40 kids
40
that are
kids.
published authors, immediately off the top of my head, and that's something that they can bank on for the rest of their lives. That's money that's going directly into their own bank accounts as well, too, because they're receiving sales from Amazon, KDP, so the money goes directly to the kids. And, the hope is that they can continue to make, additional books. We've had a couple of kids that have gone on to sell hundreds of books, doing their own book signings. They got T-shirts that they're selling, and everything.
Sounds
so
like
it's been really dope.
Sounds like I need to be in your next class.
Hey man, let's write a book, man. Let's get you a bestseller.
I got some ideas for a children's book.
Yeah,
yeah.
We could definitely make that happen.
I got some ideas.
That wouldn't be a problem at all.
No, that's powerful. That's powerful. And actually, I saw it's like the news. It was on the news. It was a big deal all across Facebook. I saw these families with kids. I'm like, how did I miss that?
Yeah, it was at the University of Toledo. We actually ended up holding a publishers party where we invited, I think about 300 people ended up coming out. So Senator Paula Hicks Hudson came and gave a keynote speech. State Representative Josh Williams came out and gave closing remarks.
Wow.
We actually purchased 600 books for the kids as well, too, and let them sell the books at the publishers party for $10 a piece. So a lot of the kids sold out and went home with $150 in their pocket.
Dang.
So I'm pretty sure we were one of the very few, summer programs that actually put money in the kids'
pocket, 100%. So I mean, as far as professionally with your organizations, what do you see coming down the pipeline for your organizations?
Yeah, a lot of change, and growth, because it's not just about the organization's growth or the change within the organization. It's about the growth of the community. We really want to push Toledo to be a tech community. So we can start bringing in the workforce and economic dollars that are associated with that. You'll start seeing a lot of, really big companies are starting to land here in Ohio. There's really big investment in the Columbus, Cleveland, and Cincinnati areas, where you have billion-dollar corporations that are moving there, with data centers, building the microchip factories and everything like that. And we want for our community to be able to take part in the financial and fiscal growth that comes along with that as well, too. So how about we train some people here locally in Toledo, so they can get those jobs, and that's really the idea.
100%. And this is honestly, it's one of the best places to have a business to manufacture just because of it's a logistical capital between I-75 going from Canada to Florida, from I-80 going from ocean to ocean. Yeah, man. This is a place and we have more railroad terminals. It's one of the busiest cargo airports in the country. Toledo was prime for industry, which it was built off of industry.
100%, and it's nothing wrong with reimagining what those industries can be. We've long been known as an automotive and a manufacturing city, and that's beautiful, and that's what we've been built off of, but if we infuse a little bit of tech and artificial intelligence into, the different various industries that are also here in Toledo, we could really push Toledo to start coming, in first, not behind Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Columbus, but coming in first, in front of those cities as well.
Yeah. Well, we were there at some point, and I believe we can get back to that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It just takes a dedicated drive, for us to come up with some of those, collaborative organizations, like NOIC, that recently, came about, with all the organizations that were pursuing the money for, creating a glass hub here locally. I think that brought in like 50 million or so, the city's doing really well on the economic development side, with revitalizing a lot of, some of the neighborhoods here locally in the downtown area
Absolutely.
as well too. So, Toledo's definitely on the cusp, man.
Yeah, it's Toledo's on the cusp.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's a place of just opportunity,
For
straight up.
sure.
So let me ask you this: we talked about professionally, all that you do, as many organizations as you're a part of, the communities you're a part of. How do you balance that with your family, being a husband, being a father?
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember I read Kobe's book, and I forgot what it was called, but it was a autobiography about him, and he said one of the things he had to do was sacrifice sleep,
Wow.
in order to, kind of be able to balance all of that,
Yeah.
because, I'm a really active father, super active husband as well too. Those are things that I don't want to miss out on,
Yeah.
even tomorrow, I'll do everything at work. I'm gonna be teaching in the morning. I have award shows tomorrow that I need to go to. I have a daddy-daughter dance, but I also have
Okay.
a wake that I have to go to,
Wow.
unfortunately as well too, but that's all a part of life, and we all have 24 hours in a day, and I'm just really trying to make real good use of mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got a beautiful family.
Man, I appreciate it,
Yeah,
man.
you
You
got to keep
too.
them babies, keep your wife happy as well.
Yeah, and it takes a a penny to do that as well
Yeah.
too, so you
Yeah.
got to get out here and make something happen, and it's a lot of opportunity that is out here in Toledo right now, and it's a lot of really motivated and inspired people that are looking for opportunities, so it's just engaging and networking with some of those people like yourself, you know what I mean? You've been out
Absolutely.
here pushing for quite some time, it's amazing to see everything that you're doing on the realty side, now with the podcasting as well too, man, like you're killing it out
I
here.
appreciate that.
Of course, man.
I appreciate, it's not easy. Definitely not easy, but what I've learned to do is embrace the adversity.
Yeah.
Because through adversity, we have an opportunity to grow, to get stronger, learn lessons, grow wiser.
Yeah.
And I try to act like I'm Goku,
Yeah.
I just absorb it. I eat it, because I grow through it.
Yeah.
By the grace of God, everything continues to work out as long as I continue to work.
Yeah. And you never know who you're inspiring, man. You look up and somebody's coming up to you like, hey, man, I think it's really inspirational that you're doing A, B, and C. And you're like, man, I'm just trying to do the work. You know
That's
what I
it.
mean? I haven't even looked up to get the kudos or, to talk about it
That's
or
real.
anything like that. It's just about doing the work, man, because the community, your family, your people at your job, they need you.
100%. Well, and it's about, for me, it's more so, how can I be what God made me to be?
Yeah.
How can I be the best version of the person that God made me to be?
Yeah. And what is that? Because that's always ever evolving too. You know what I mean?
It does evolve. It does evolve.
Yeah.
That's where the lessons and listen, being still, listening. We pray, but we also need to listen.
Yeah.
For that direction, because the world keeps turning. The world is always turning. So if we're standing still, we're falling behind.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So that evolution, man, being emergent, being emergent instead of being static, knowing that the cheese is gonna move. It's bound to move. Somebody's gonna move your cheese, man. So it's like, how can we be emergent? How can we keep they say we need to be balanced, but you got to learn how to balance while you move forward.
Definitely. It's easy to be average, man. Only thing you got to do is wake up and did the same thing you did yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in order to excel, even to make yourself, 1 or 2% better than you were yesterday, and trying to impart that knowledge, onto kids and the people that you're working with on a daily basis, that's to find kind of like the meaning within that, struggle that you were referring to a little bit, man. But all about that,
Yeah, alchemy, man. Turning lead into gold.
Yeah, man, you got to do it, man, because nobody's going to give us our turn. Nobody's going to tell us when it's our time. You know what I mean? So it's on us. I'm in my early 40s, and I don't feel old. I feel,
you don't look it either.
Super, rejuvenated. So I don't have time to sit back. You know what I mean? We got some change to make.
Well, time is now. It's like, I'm 30. I'm turning 38 next week.
Okay.
And it's like, I'm in my prime. I gotta get it now.
You gotta go out there and get to it, because you never know. Things happen quick. And circumstances changes, life change fast. As well too. So you got to get out there and get it while you can, and while you have an opportunity to tell your own story as well too.
That's real.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So speaking of like stories, you've gotten some recent awards. What awards have you gotten recently?
So, you know, I have been recognized. Yeah, you know, fortunately, you know, the community has been recognizing some of the work that I've been doing, you know, which I'm truly fortunate to be recognized with some, you know, highly esteemed individuals as well, too, you know. So last year I received a Black King Honorary Award. You know, had some really good people that were honored there, you know, for that particular event. This year, I was named a runner-up for the Silver Mosaic Education Award, you know, which is an Addy Award. So, you know, thank you to everybody that nominated me for that.
Wow.
Definitely, you know, super honored and humbled for that. And then just recently, you and I actually were named, you know, the top 100 leaders here in Toledo, Ohio as well, too, you know, so definitely a lot more than 100, you know, Black leaders, you know, that are here that have been pushing things forward, you know, but it's an honor to be recognized on that list.
100%. Yeah. I mean, that's an honor just that people recognize the work that you're doing.
Oh, yeah. And especially when, you know, things like that come from outside the community, you know, it's always interesting because that shakes up the communities at certain times, you know, when you hear certain things like that, you know, but it's also an opportunity, you know, we have an opportunity all the time to recognize each other, you know, and, you know, say what we are doing internally and what we would like to see is, you know, our top 100, you know, we have the ability to submit our own nominations, you know, but we also have to be able to say, hey, we're going to hand that right off to somebody to count those nominations as well, too.
Right.
You know, so, you know, if those are opportunities that we want, you know, that's something that we can easily come up with, you know, internally on our own here.
We absolutely can empower ourselves and do these things. I mean, it's easy to have an opinion, but put in the work.
Right. It's easy for people to come from outside the community and, you know, just, you know, have a really quick, you know, glance on what they see, you know, as far as who's being active and what's moving, you know, but we know a lot more of the internal nuances that are involved, you know, here in Toledo's community as well, too. So, you know, those are things that we can play into.
Sound like another project.
Hey, you know, not for me, you know what I mean? I don't want no smoke. I don't want none of the smoke.
Yeah, not for me either, man. So what else? You got anything else for the people? Anything for the people that's gonna help them elevate, help them push the cusp?
Yeah, you know, one of the main things that, you know, I've been trying to push out here, you know, is just the idea of not just artificial intelligence, but augmented intelligence. You know, artificial intelligence is a tool. It's a resource. You know, it's something that's out there that's available that you should not just say is a one size fits all type of product. You know, you shouldn't be going to ChatGPT and saying, you know, throw anything in there and it's going to give you all the answers that you're looking for. It's not. But you can augment your intelligence. You can also augment that artificial intelligence with your ideas, you know, some of the concepts that you've been working on for years, whether that's a book or a business plan, or, you know, you just don't know how to send this text message to somebody, you know, because you've been really anxious, you know, about that particular text, you know, these are all things that you can utilize artificial intelligence for, you know, so I think that is, you know, definitely our time to look at artificial intelligence just as other individuals may have looked at Microsoft or Google or even the internet when that first came out.
100%.
There's a lot of workforce reskilling and upskilling that will come from artificial intelligence. And I will tell you now, you will not lose your job to artificial intelligence, but you will lose your job to somebody that knows how to use artificial intelligence. And that's really important to have a realization of right now, because over the next few years, we have a really open opportunity to allow individuals to really excel themselves using artificial intelligence. You know, and it may not be easy, you know, but it's definitely something that you can go on there. It's free of charge, you know, and you can just utilize it to the best of your ability.
Heard that. Well, me personally, I'm a big fan of, let's just say, ChatGPT. You know, and I've been with not just ChatGPT, I've been doing AI since AI was out. You know, just even with copy.ai or if this then that. Zapier, you know, automating, because in business, you already know you have to have systems. You can hustle all day, but I didn't get into real estate to hustle. I didn't get into real estate to sell houses, honestly. I got into real estate to build a supply chain. So inherent with that mission is I have to have systems. And these technological systems, I'm a one-man army.
Right.
I mean, I got a team, but to get here, I've been a one-man army with my robots in the back.
And that's how it should be. You know what I mean? You're just using those to enhance the work that you're out here doing in the community. You know, you are one man, you know, but you're one man with a righteous dream as well, too. You know, and there's a lot of dreams that are out here, you know, spread throughout the community. And, you know, one thing that artificial intelligence does for us, you know, a lot of us have, you know, stories that we would like to tell, you know, but we may not have the greatest ability to tell those stories, you know. So using artificial intelligence to kind of help you along with saying, hey, this is a book that I'm trying to write, you know, this is an email that I'm putting together, or even this is a business plan, you know, for something that I've been looking to create for quite some time. You know, use that, you know, don't go out here and spend all of your money, you know, on a lawyer initially. You know, there is a lot of stuff that you can get for free just by using the artificial intelligence, you know. So, you know, it's really interesting because I go out into the community and I have a lot of conversations about artificial intelligence. And a lot of times I'll have one side of people that are using artificial intelligence in a really frivolous way. They're like, you know, making, you know, computer generated pictures or AI pictures of themselves, like real beefed up. They're making music, you know, using the AI, you know, so Jay-Z sounds like he's a, you know, a cat rapper or something like that, you know, all the different type of things too, you know, but that's one side of the street. You know, they feel like it's the Terminator, it's the Matrix, you know, it's going to take their job. But the one thing that's going to be common about both those sides of the street is that both going to get washed away once that AI and tech wave really, really hits. You know, because right now we're just seeing, like I said earlier, the tip of the iceberg, you know, but it's going to really start to be in pretty much everything that you can think of. And, you know, I want people to really think back. You know, AI has been around for quite some time. You know what I mean? I know in some iterations, AI has been around since like 1978. I was watching Mo Money the other day. And the whole concept of Mo Money is an artificial intelligence tool that's doing like microtransactions in the back in order to kind of like steal and siphon away money, you know, for into this particular account. You know, and you'll often see people that say they're scared of AI, but, you know, they're hopping in a Tesla, they're unlocking their phone using their face and stuff like that as well, too. And that's all AI, you know, so in the very least, we need to be aware of the different types of artificial intelligence that are out there, because if we don't want to participate, you have to know what that landscape looks like in order to say that you're really not taking part of it.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. It'll get better. I mean, back when, I remember, think about it, when the internet was dawned. Don't put your information on the internet. Don't put your real name on the internet. The internet is get scammed, get hacked. Now, you know, you can go on the internet. People got their full names.
It's all right there.
You can Google them, get their addresses, you can get anything you want. So, I mean, just like with anything at the dawning, you know, it'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Oh, definitely.
And the ones that hop on the wave are going to be in a better position.
Right. Because a lot of times people are going to look around at their competitors. They're going to look around at, you know, Joe, who last week didn't seem like he was able to put together an email. And this week he's, you know, sending them out, you know, getting them all out. And all of them sound like they super smart. You're like, Joe don't even talk like that. You know what I mean? Joe's using AI, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because while you're using AI to excel yourself and move a lot faster, there's probably 90 different tasks that you really want to be putting your time towards, you know, 100%. And that's really the important thing, because AI is a time machine. It's a time saver. You know, it's giving you your time back, you know, and that's amazing. Another way to look at it as well.
It's amazing. If y'all not with it, get with it. Go get on ChatGPT.
And get the paid version. You know, don't get the free version, because another thing that I'll tell people is that if you're not paying for the product, that means you are the product.
That's real.
You know, that's why Facebook, you know, you are the product on Facebook. You know, they had you sign everything away saying, hey, you can use my picture, you can use my likeness. You don't have to pay me for it. You don't have to give me knowledge that you're utilizing it. They have your location, they have all your photos, everything. And they can literally take that. Like I could, you know, somebody could hack somebody's Facebook account. You can't get that back. It's gone.
It's gone.
You know what I mean? So you have to really be aware of, you know, the different nuances that are involved in different ways that you can kind of make and weave your way throughout that, you know, and that's really what's important, that we don't shy away. You know, I heard somebody say the other day that artificial intelligence is the light bulb of our generation. You know, and I hear a lot of fear mongering behind artificial intelligence, you know,
that's real.
As well, too. But, you know, when you think about AI in the sense of being a light bulb, you know, if you're in a dark room, you're not going to turn on the light. you're going to be tripping over stuff. You're going to be running into obstacles and everything like that, and not understanding why the pathway for you is so hard. You know, just turn the light on.
Turn the light on.
And get paid GPT. You know, it'll give you access to create your own GPTs. You can have access to DALL-E on there, which is an image generator.
Yep.
You get access to Sora on there as well, too. And that's all just for $20. And the amount of time and efficiency that it'll save you at that point is worth it.
The best $20 per month that I spend.
I swear, man.
And not to mention all of that, plus it learns you as time goes on. It learns you.
Right.
They learn. Ask ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT. If you use ChatGPT, ask, tell me 5 things about myself that I may not be aware of.
Yep.
ChatGPT is going to read you.
Yeah. And don't be scared of that, because that's all algorithms. You know, Netflix is doing the exact same thing for you. You know what I mean? Blockbuster would still be around if they infused a bit of artificial intelligence. You know,
that's real.
Netflix is just Blockbuster with AI. That's all it is. But when they're like, hey, you're giving it a thumbs up, and then your algorithm starts to change, and they're like, hey, we think you're going to like these. That's all based on an algorithm. That's all AI in the background. So you are utilizing AI. You know, when you're liking things on TikTok, all of a sudden you're like, hey, I got all these cat videos, you know what I mean? Or I got all these videos about juggling or something.
Yeah.
That is AI, you know what I mean? It's all being utilized around you. And it's time that instead of us being in fear of it, you know, that we find ways that we can really embrace it for our own, you know, social or economic gain as well.
Let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on that $200 ChatGPT agent?
You know what? That's interesting that you bring that up. So initially, you know, I wasn't a huge, you know, I wasn't really into it, you know, but then I saw some of the things that it could have the capacity to do. So my partner, Tom, you know, was actually, I don't want to put him out here like this, but he had it find a way to kind of like put together his whole agenda for Valentine's Day. You know what I mean? It was actually able to have different agents go out there and find tickets.
Yeah.
You know, find coupon codes for those tickets.
Yeah.
Find seats for him, you know, and everything. So it set up a whole agenda, and not just set up the agenda, but, you know, book the rooms and everything like that. You know, so when it comes to utilizing artificial intelligence, it's really up to your own imagination to have the thought process to say, like, how far can I push it?
How far can you
push and if you've really been looking for a product, if you were a kid that was always like breaking stuff and then rebuilding it, or always trying to test the line, like, this is an opportunity for you to ask, you know, ChatGPT or whichever tool, you know, that you feel is the one for you, you know, because there's Perplexity, there's Claude out there as well too. You know, we talked a little bit about DeepSeek.
Yep.
You know, so there's a lot of different tools that are large language models that are out there for you to utilize, you know, but there's also different types of AI too, you know, machine learning, data analytics, you know, there's a plethora of different types, you know, so, you know, one type of AI may not be your best method towards efficiency, you know, and those are also things that you can go out there and find out, you know, but having ChatGPT in your pocket, you know, is like having somebody that's super smart and knowledgeable about anything that you want to think about, whether it's like you want to replace a carburetor in a 1976 Chevy Caprice, or you want to know how to, you know, create the code for your website. You know, it's all there and available to you.
100%.
Yeah.
Get with it or get left.
Hey man, that's the play, you know, and there's no reason to get left. You know, there's no reason at all to get left. You know, this is not a gatekeeper situation. You know, Rob and I aren't here. We're not paying for the $200. You know, I'm paying for the $20, you know, Teams version myself, you know, but this is a huge opportunity, you know, for individuals to really go out there and empower themselves and to create, you know, some of those equitable pathways that you may have wanted to see in the past, that, you know, those opportunities that you wanted to see as a kid are the ones that you want to see for your kids, you know, create those opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's 2025.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
Right. Don't live in 2021.
Right.
Don't even live in 2024 at this point. Shoot.
No reason to, man. We already in 2030. You know what I mean? Like, we have to start thinking about that 2030 plan, you know, because when you think about competing with these other cities, those other cities are thinking that way.
That's
you know,
true.
They're thinking about how to cross collaborate, how to cross brand, how to bring different state and federal dollars to whatever initiatives that they're thinking about, you know. So if we're thinking about 2026 and they're thinking about 2032, you know what I mean? They're going to get that 2032 money, and it's all going to be a surprise to us.
Yeah.
And we need to stop being left behind and being okay with being left behind. You know, let's build our own narrative.
That's it. That's it.
Let's get to it.
We are the masters of our fate and the captains of our souls. Let's get it.
That's good.
I appreciate you, brother.
Of course, man.
I've been asking them. I've been saying, hey, every time I see him, I need to get you on the podcast. I need to get you on the podcast. So I appreciate you making time.
Of course, of course.
You know, hopefully from this, not hopefully, you're gonna have a lot of content that you can push out. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
you know,
bro.
so reach out to me, LeSean at empoweredai.org. You know, LeSean at actualreality.tech. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You know, just reach out to me anyway. You know, let's get your kids signed up for programs. Let's get you active with artificial intelligence, man, and let's start changing the community for the better.
That's it.
Let's get to it.
Get with it. Get with it. Appreciate you, bro.
Time, man.
For sure. Yep. All right, that's it. 35 minutes.